This is part 3 of checking on testing Brandon's carburetors. Part 3 only because I screwed up and turned the camera off accidentally and made a part 1 and a part 2. As you may recall from our last from part 2, we had a catastrophic outpouring of fuel coming from the pre-atomizer, and still there's some still dripping, and ordinarily that would be because the pre-atomizer is loose. So we stick our finger in there. No, it's not loose. Well, is it possible that it is collapsed or cracked because you've got a jam nut and screw on the side that holds it in place, and you have to tighten that down really tight to make it seal. So we will find out when we take it apart, but we're going to do some other sleuthing in the meantime. We want to discuss the pathway the fuel takes to get in and out of the carburetor. So let's take a look here. We've got our pre-atomizer in place, held by a set screw in a jam nut, and all it does, it's a very simple mechanical seal. In other words, you simply put the pre-atomizer up against the inside of the throw the carburetor and tighten it down, and that's the only seal you get. You would have thought they'd have the sense to put an O-ring on here of some kind, or even a paper gasket, but nope. So let's trace our fluid, our fuel. Obviously starts in the float bowl, and it's going to exit out this hole right there, and that hole is cross drilled with the main jet down there. And so what we can do is take a punch and run it into that hole right there, and you see it comes out down there, and so that's the path that the fuel takes out of the float bowl into the main, and then from the main it goes around the perimeter. It goes around the perimeter of the main jet, and then out through the little. Now that's actually the jet. This is the carrier, so it goes around the outside of the carrier and through the jet, and then it goes up through this passage right here, which you can see intersecting. If we pull that out, you can see that intersects right there. The fuel then goes up to this point right here and comes out the pre-atomizer, and you can see, if we get some light down there, I can't see it, it's not going in far enough. Don't have this going to go in there far enough. Let's do it here. Okay, this will do it right here. So we're intersecting this hole right here at the top of that passageway, and the fuel then goes out through that hole in the throat, and that's this one right here. You can see a little wire coming out, and then into the pre-atomizer. So what's going to cause that much fuel, that constant flow of fuel, to escape. Possibilities. We've got, this is our float bowl cover. So, possibilities. We've got a defective needle and seat. We've got a float that is not, the float level is not set correctly, and the way you set the float level is you measure from this surface to this surface, and that should be 37 to 38 millimeters when the float is resting gently on the needle and seat. The other option, another possibility for excess fuel would be these stands right here. Sometimes these stands come out, and therefore the float moves away from the needle and seat and allows fuel to come pouring into the chamber. That's the only thing I can think of. So right now we got fuel pouring out. So why didn't it pour out the second barrel? What we have here are these air corrector jet carriers, dovetail very nicely into the top of the carburetor right here, and it's usually a machined fit, but I'm going to guess it's not always a machined fit, because when I noticed his carburetor was flooding, the majority of all the flood was coming out here, this side, but I did notice by chance that this side was glistening, so I'm wondering if we had fuel coming up here as well, but it was this seal right here between this machined brass and this right here was good enough that fuel didn't come out here, but it still came up to this level and seeped out through the gasket. That's the only thing I can think of. So right now I'm going to go with a defective float. Earlier today we suspected that it was defective pre-atomizer. I don't think so. Anyway, I'm going to turn the video off and do the diagnostic on the post-mortem on the carburetor, and I will post what I find in the comments section, because I'm not going to make a chapter 4 of this video. So I hope this helped all you side draft 190 SL, BMW, and Alfa Romeo owners in terms of diagnosing what happens when you have a spontaneous eruption of fuel through the pre-atomizer. And if anybody has any comments and suggestions, please post them for the rest of us to see and enjoy. Thank you.